My name is Adam, and I work at a deep space communication station in the middle of the desert. It's not the kind of job people dream about when they're kids. There are no rockets here, no astronauts, no glory, just silence. Miles of empty sand and machines that never stop listening.
Every night I sit alone in the control room and listen to signals from space. Most of them mean nothing. Old radio waves, broken transmissions, natural interference. Static that sounds like whispers if you listen too long. After a while, space stops feeling magical. It starts feeling empty, cold, and very, very far away. But one night, something changed. It was 2:14 a.m. I remember the time because I looked at the clock right before it happened. I was drinking cold coffee and staring at a screen I had already checked 100 times. Outside, the desert was completely silent. Inside, the only sound was the soft hum of the machines. Then suddenly, one of the receivers began to blink. A weak signal had appeared. That wasn't unusual. Signals come and go all the time, but this one felt different immediately because it wasn't random. It had a pattern, a rhythm, something intentional. It repeated again and again and again, like someone or something was trying to make sure it would be noticed.
At first, I told myself it was probably nothing. A damaged transmission, a corrupted satellite bounce, a software error, anything that made sense, anything normal. Because when you work alone in the dark long enough, your mind starts filling silence with stories, and I didn't want this to become one of them. So I ran the signal through the decoding software, just to prove to myself that it was meaningless.
But when the waveform stabilized, I froze, because it wasn't noise, it wasn't machine interference, it wasn't broken data. It was audio, a human voice recording. The sound was damaged and full of static, but the words came through clearly enough to make my skin go cold. A man's voice said, "If anyone on Earth receives this."
Then the voice continued, slowly, like the speaker was exhausted or injured or terrified. "Do not let Mission Eris 7 land." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stared at the screen and listened to the silence that followed. Because Mission Eris 7 was real, and it was scheduled to land on Mars in 6 days.
I checked the source coordinates immediately. Then I checked them again. And again. 3 times. 5 times. More than I can remember. I told the system to verify the origin independently. I expected some kind of technical correction, some boring explanation, something earthly. But the answer never changed.
The signal had come from Mars, not from orbit, not from a satellite, not from one of our probes or rovers, from the surface, from the ground, from a point no human being should have been standing on. And that was the moment the room stopped feeling safe.
I should have reported it immediately. That's what protocol says. That's what a smarter person would have done. But I didn't, because by then, fear had mixed with curiosity, and curiosity is dangerous, especially when it sounds like a human voice calling across a dead planet. So instead of reporting it, I cleaned the audio, and I played the full transmission.
This time, the same voice sounded weaker, more distant, like the speaker had been running, or hiding, or dying. He said, "They told us the colony was abandoned." Then he stopped for a second, breathing hard, and whispered, "It wasn't abandoned."
Then came the part I still hear in my head every time the room gets quiet. It was waiting, not alive, not dead, not human, just waiting. I remember sitting there with my hands still on the keyboard, unable to move, while my brain tried to understand what those words were supposed to mean. But
deep down, I think I already knew.
I searched the internal database. At first, I found nothing. No mission under that name, no official colony, no archived warning. Nothing. Then I used an old administrator command most people at the station didn't even know existed. And that's when I found it. A hidden file. Project Echo Colony.
My hands were shaking when I opened it. Inside were classified reports, mission logs, image files, and heavily restricted personnel records. But one thing appeared again and again across multiple documents. The same sentence. Repeated, highlighted, buried in warnings and annotations. No signal should ever be answered. And the second I read it, my stomach dropped, because I had already answered. At exactly 3:03 a.m., every monitor in the control room went black. All of them, at the same time. No shutdown warning, no power fluctuation, no system error. Just darkness. For a few seconds, I could hear nothing but my own breathing. Then, one by one, the screens turned back on. But they weren't showing system data anymore. No frequencies, no coordinates, no diagnostics. Every screen showed the same image. A dark red landscape. The surface of Mars. And standing in the center of that image was a person, motionless, watching. He was wearing a damaged spacesuit. The visor was cracked. Red dust covered the fabric. One arm hung lower than the other, like it had been injured. He wasn't moving, not even slightly. And somehow, even from that distance, I knew he was facing directly toward the camera, directly toward me.
Then the audio channel opened by itself. I didn't touch anything. I swear that. The speakers cracked with static, and then a voice came through. My own voice. It said, "Adam?" Then a pause. Then, "You should not have replied."
My blood turned to ice, because I had never transmitted my name. Not once. Not in text, not in voice, not in any outgoing channel. There was no way the source could know who I was, unless it already knew me. Or worse, unless it was me. I opened the final mission log in the hidden file. The date made no sense. It was marked 2049, 23 years in the future. According to the log, mission Eris 7 had landed successfully. And after landing, the crew had discovered something beneath the surface of Mars. Something ancient, something buried, something that should never have been found.
The attached images were worse than the words. Huge underground chambers, stone corridors carved into the planet itself, massive walls beneath the Martian crust, architecture older than any civilization on Earth. Not natural, not human, and definitely not empty. The colony hadn't been built to live on Mars. It had been built to contain something under it. The last attached image showed a sealed doorway. Enormous, ancient, covered in symbols no human language could explain. The final line of the report was short, only 3 words. They opened it. And after that, every transmission from the colony stopped. No contact, no rescue, no survivors, just silence. Then the last recording began to play automatically. This time there was no static, no corruption, no distortion, just a clear voice, a terrified voice. It said, "If this reaches the past, listen carefully. Do not send Ares 7. Do not answer any signal from Mars." Then there was a pause, and the voice whispered, "If you see yourself on the surface."
The camera shifted, just slightly, and for 1 second,
I saw the astronaut's face behind the cracked visor. It was me. Not someone who looked like me, not someone similar. Me. The same eyes, the same scar above my eyebrow, the same face staring back at me from the future. That was 3 nights ago. I reported everything. They took my files, shut down my station access, and told me to forget what I saw. Yesterday, the official announcement was released. Mission Eris 7 is still moving forward. No delays, no warnings, no changes. And tonight, the signal came back, stronger than before. Now, through the static, I can hear thousands of voices speaking at once, all saying the same sentence, over and over again. We are already here.